Hey guys, welcome in. It is Brad with College SportsCast. I've got John Hammonds here with me tonight, and we are here to do our Big Fuss Show, Week 25, Season 2, guys.
Can I please have your attention?
What's all the commotion around here?
What are you talking about?
Let them yap at you.
It's actually very exciting.
All right, guys, welcome in. It's Brad with College SportsCast. Sorry we're running behind today. I've been very busy, and Kentucky is playing as we speak. So Hammonds and I are kind of in the middle of watching a Kentucky game. That's why I pushed the show back 30 minutes, to be honest with you. I figured we'd at least get to halftime. We are playing Vandy tonight. Vandy's not a good team, not really. They're 6-15 on the year. So if we're going to do this in the middle of a Kentucky game, I figure this is a good one to do it in, right, Hammonds?
Yeah, right.
I mean, we try not to do this in the middle of Kentucky games, just to be honest with you. But I've been so busy and swamped and doing things, I didn't really realize until earlier. Hammonds called me. He said, we need to do this a little later, right? And I'm like, no, why? And he's like, I knew I was going to watch Kentucky, but I just hadn't put two and two together.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, so we're here to do a short version of our Big Fuss Show. I really don't have a whole lot together tonight, so we will probably make this a short show tonight, and maybe watch the last 5-6 minutes of the game here. So, but we are College SportsCast, and you can find us at Let's Talk Sports. We are featured on Let's Talk Sports. We are also featured on Sundays on the Real Fresh channel, and you can find us at WSBN TV. Visit homefieldapparel.com. Check out our vintage premium collegiate apparel company that is with us. Use our code CSCAST for a 15% discount with them. They have over 180 teams to choose from, collegiate teams to choose from. Lots of cool stuff. Check them out. All right, Hammonds. In the news today, what do you got in the news in the college worlds that kind of spoke to you, or something that you think we needed to talk about? Anything that you heard today that was in the news?
Not that I haven't really paid attention to a lot of things lately.
Well, I'll tell you one thing that I kind of wanted to talk about tonight in the news, and I wanted your opinion on it. So the last 2-3 days since like Saturday or maybe Sunday, something like that, Rick Pitino seems to suddenly be has all the answers on what needs to be done in college sports. All of a sudden, I don't know. So he's had an epiphany or something. I'm not sure what happened to Rick Pitino.
a lot of that.
All of a sudden, he has all the answers. He's tweeting them all out. Everybody's falling for all this crap. And I just wanted to get your opinion. What's up with Rick Pitino, and all of a sudden he has all these answers?
Well, the one thing that he was talking about was the Dartmouth, where they was being employees. That was just a sarcasm. He was making a joke out of that. But the other stuff, I'm not real sure about. Like, it's a little odd, to be honest. Like,
well, so my thing is this: if he has all these answers, where has his voice been for the last 4 years?
Yeah, that's what I wonder.
That's what, like, I don't understand what triggered suddenly he has all these answers of what needs to be done. I'm gonna tell you what I think, and and not necessarily um that he's doing this out of malicious or anything, but I
Mm-hmm.
do believe that he kind of has a little vendetta against the NCAA.
Yeah, he
Like he's
does.
been, you know what I mean? Like he's had a few run-ins with the NCAA, and I
Mm-hmm.
believe like he tweeted out, he's been putting it in tweets and everywhere. Like he's been doing this stuff for the last 2 or 3 days, and he's like rule 1 and rule 2 and rule 3 and what needs to be done and
By
all
the
this. And
way, by the way, Antonio Reeves is just having himself a night.
yeah, they
He's
are. So I
unbelievable.
look
He's
this way.
unbelievable,
If you
man.
see me look this way a few times, just because the game's on back there.
Yeah,
So
but some of the things that Rick Pitino says, like there's sometimes where he'll go off the wall with stuff, and I'm thinking, what's this guy saying? What's he talking about? Like, I don't know, man. He's just sometimes it blow. The new age of social media and Twitter has, to me, has destroyed everybody. Like everybody can
I,
twiddle their
I
thumbs
mean,
and,
it's
and
like, can you
say
imagine
whatever they
when Rick
want.
Pitino was coaching at Kentucky long time ago when he was here at Kentucky? Can you imagine him like himself like having a like speaking out to the fans and the media like he is? Like that's just weird. Like that's really Rick Pitino. You
Could
don't
you
see Chris
imagine?
Beard doing that.
Well, I was
You don't
thinking.
see John Calipari. Rick Barnes ain't doing that.
Well, another thing too.
It's just
I'll
weird.
tell you something else that I kind of, you remember when Cal Perry and John Chaney got in that fight back in the early '90s with UMass and Temple. Like, wonder what social media would have been like
Oh
back
yeah,
then.
absolutely.
Like two coaches
Oh
going at it in
well,
a
you
post
know,
game conference.
there was some things said during that one. If it was said in this day and time, they would have
Somebody would
been
get their
some
head
people
smacked.
fired.
Yeah,
There would have been some people fired pretty quickly.
yeah, that's a fact. That's a really fact.
I don't know. I don't know if
Well,
you
and,
go
and then
back.
you have the
I'm
Bobby
not.
Knight with
I'm
his
not
chair.
saying what was said in that press conference, but if you go back and look, there'd be some
Well, I
people
mean,
losing some jobs.
if you look back at some of the things that Bobby Knight's done, swinging the chairs, could you imagine doing that and seeing that on social media now? Like what the reaction would be?
Oh,
It
I
would
mean,
be.
people would be killed nowadays, I mean,
They
honestly.
would.
So,
They
another
would.
thing that I wanted to get to real quick that was in the news today. So, finally, because the NCAA has been getting killed in the court system, they have been
Yes.
losing case after case after case after case. They lost a case. Well,
Mm-hmm.
it's still temporary. It's not completely lost, but
Mm-hmm.
they were trying to keep the 1 year transfer in place, and temporarily they have lost that. It's not finished yet. But today, the NCAA actually a judge ruled in their favor today on restrictions for NIL, and those restrictions are um, for compensation during the recruiting process. They can't
Well,
be, they
if
can't, they, what they're saying is you can't use that as a tool for like pay for play, is what I'm
well
saying.
the Tennessee one was rejected. Um,
That's what I'm talking about.
so this is where you're going to have a
Tennessee
problem.
has been fighting. Virginia has all of a sudden been fighting. And there was a ruling today against Tennessee saying that they couldn't pay for play in those situations when you're recruiting kids, that you can't do that. That
Well,
is,
here's the issue though. If Nico Avalea, I can't pronounce his last name, but
yeah.
if he gets ineligible, I'm telling you, there's going to be war at the NCAA headquarters because Tennessee fans are really going to put some pressure on them.
Well, I mean, Tennessee fans are already going ape crap, but I mean, there's rules in place for a reason, and I am glad to see that they are being able to use these rules and say, hey, you can't do this without the judge and the court system destroying all the rules and saying it's wild, wild west and anything is you can do anything you want.
Another thing is the whole NIL deal. It's like we even talked about this last week. The whole NIL deal stuff is there needs to be boundaries and there needs to be regulations how to work this stuff because it's a free for all. It's the wild, wild west. You really don't know really what's happening, especially behind the scenes, in the scenes. You know, there needs to be rules and regulations. And now that there was a comment somebody made the other day, now they want these kids to have the NIL. But on the other side of the equation, like with the whole NCAA ruling on Tennessee, that's where it gets me is like you want these kids to have pay for play, but then you want to, penalize them. And there's where my issue is what are we doing? Like, I've always said we need to abolish the NCAA, and it's eventually getting to that point.
The next thing I want to bring up, before I move on to something kind of that's going to go into what you're leading into right there, is the Dartmouth ruling. They are basically now saying that their athletes are employees. And I mean, all of that means that they can say that their employees are part-time, full-time. They can give them some benefits. They cannot give them some benefits. I don't know what's going on with it, but I do know this. The labor board today, the regional labor board, clears the way for Dartmouth hoops to form a union today. That happened today.
Who really seen Dartmouth being leader in all this business? I mean, who saw Dartmouth?
The National Labor Relations Board actually put together and said they cleared the way today for an election that would create the first labor union for NCAA athletes.
Well,
that's big.
And here's the thing too.
What happens here is if the athletes can form unions like they do in the NBA and like they do in the NFL and like they do then they can go and say, hey, we want this and this and that, and you have to agree upon all this stuff.
Well, and another thing too is, for me, this is probably we mentioned this in a group chat with there was a couple bracketologists I talked to yesterday, and to me, this is the death knell of college athletics. To the point to where you're going to have employees, you're going to have salary caps, it's going to look like the NFL, and it's going to look like the free agents.
We've been heading that direction because there's no cap, there's no so it's just been blowing up, wild, wild west, and there has to be some kind of a structure.
Yeah, the structure is completely
there has to be some kind of a structure, and I think this is one way. I'm not saying this is the correct way, but this is one way to do that, is to be able to form player unions that would go and negotiate with like the CFP or the NCAA or whatever.
Yeah, and I've just seen this coming the last 3 to 4 years. Anyways, they've with the whole transfer portal.
Who would have thought that Dartmouth would be the one that's leading this? I mean, I have no idea.
and we even mentioned this last year in football season. You know, they need to change the portal till after the bowl games. That's where you're
Oh yeah,
getting a lot of guys that are
absolutely.
sitting
It's
out.
ridiculous what's going on.
Well, but you're still going to have
All right, John, I
NFL
wanted
guys
to
that are
ask
going
you.
to. Well, what I was saying, you're still going to
Yeah,
have
the
NFL
NFL
guys
people
that are going to the
opting
pro.
out. I get
They're
this.
going
Yeah,
to sit out regardless. But then you
yeah.
add to it, and you have basically the whole team sitting out, and that's the biggest problem.
Oh yeah, yeah, man. I agree. So I also wanted to ask you what's your initial thoughts and what do you think about the SEC and the Big Ten partnering up to address all these college issues? Do you think that is a um, do you think it's setting up for a future where the SEC and Big Ten are kind of ruling everything,
Here's where
or
here's
they
where
just
I
trying to
think
help things?
here's where I think it's going to go, and I said this the other day on a Twitter page, on my Twitter page. It's going to go to a point to where the Big Ten and the SEC is going to turn into this Power Five conference, and it's going to be like with the college football side of it. It's going to be like the NFC and the AFC. You're going to have certain teams in one division,
That's where I think we're headed to.
and you're going to have another team in another division, and basically you're going to have
I think
playoff
we're going to
games.
have an AFC and NFC. We're going to have playoffs, and the two winners of the AFC and the NFC are going to meet basically like a Super Bowl.
Yeah,
It's going to
and
be
all the
called
teams
something
are.
different.
Yeah, it's going to be different, but it's basically
It
going that
won't be
direction.
called Super Bowl, but
But here's the biggest issue that happens with all this, though, is on the other aspect of it, you're going to have colleges that, teams like Tulane, the UNC Wilmingtons of the world, Dartmouth, some of these low lit mid majors, they're going to be picking up the scraps of all this, and they're going to be left out in the cold. And the small schools are not going to be able to compete with the big schools because the big schools are going to have their own alliance and their own group and their own divisions. And to me, that's a big deal, I think, because you're seeing it with you're seeing it now even with Tulane, with the G5 teams. They're already winning and getting to these actual bowl games and these playoffs. Look at Liberty in the last year. Look at Tulane. It's going to hurt those teams because they're going to be left behind in the dust while the Power Five moves on.
you're right. I mean, there is, there is no easy answer for all of this, to be honest with you. So
It's
I
a
just kind of
it's
wanted,
a it's an
I
uphill
just kind
battle to be on.
of, no matter what you do, somebody's going to be left out of something. I mean, that's just the way
It's
it is.
well, you look at. I'll take it from a wrestling
And
perspective.
you got college basketball. We've been okay in college basketball for years and years and years that it was only 64 teams or 68 teams or whatever. I mean,
Well,
at some point, you have to leave out some of the
well,
teams.
you look at it from a wrestling perspective. Back when you had the Hulk Hogan's and the Ultimate Warriors and all these guys in the WWF, and all of them left, and it felt like it was going to crumble the company. But eventually Vince took over and gave it some life. And to this day, it's still a good company, but it's not the Attitude Era and the wrestling era that we have, that we see today. But it's sort of in that kind of figure, because you're seeing all the older teams and like the Hulks and all those teams, they move on and they go about their business, and you're having to change things and work on things and move things around. And I think that's what we're seeing with college athletics.
Kylie, nobody's going to leave the SEC. The SEC gets too much money.
Yeah, there's
And
too much.
and these teams that are leaving these other conferences, they're not getting kicked out.
No,
They're not getting kicked out of their conferences.
they're
They are just
basically all they're doing. They're just leaving. Like
they're leaving conferences.
They're
And
realigning and going.
Nobody's going to leave the SEC because you get too big of a piece of the pie.
Yeah,
in the SEC. You know what I mean? So, that's what you got with that is, even Vanderbilt, look at Vanderbilt. I mean, right now, the only thing Vanderbilt really has that they are still really good at is baseball. They do have a really good baseball program.
the Vandy boys. We call them the Vandy boys.
I mean, they do have a really, really good baseball program.
They do.
And,
Coach
absolutely.
Coach Corbin might be one of the best coaches in America in baseball. He's a really good coach.
I mean, absolutely. You can't take away that they are one of the top SEC baseball programs.
They're one of the best.
All right, John. Let's get to a college basketball scoreboard real quick, and then we'll talk
I'll let you go through it because I don't have
game, and then we'll get off.
I've
got the top 25 pulled up. Okay, I got it, man. So tonight there is some good games going on. We had South Carolina playing at home against Ole Miss earlier. This is a final. It was 68-65. South Carolina comes out on top. Ole Miss, was
Ole Miss
still like
Ole Miss
17-4 or something.
Ole Miss made some crucial errors, man, late in that game.
They did late. Yeah, they did.
They had a shot that was very
and South Carolina, who finally, and I had been saying this for a week and a half, South Carolina should be ranked in the top 15. Well, guess where they were yesterday? They were ranked 15th. And I was like, hallelujah, they finally done something right. South Carolina was ranked 15th this week, which is exactly where I thought they should be.
Well, and I wouldn't be shocked if they're ranked in the top 10 eventually because they're creeping on the top 10.
They keep playing like this. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So they won tonight, and then Clemson gets a huge, huge win tonight in North Carolina.
Yep.
They beat North Carolina tonight 80-76. It's a huge win for them because Clemson had started the season out so well. ACC started, and they haven't been playing good. They're like 2-5 or 3-6 or something like that in the ACC before tonight. This was a big win for them. I think they're now like 15-7. They'll have this win against North Carolina on the road. This is a road win.
And a key stat from that game, that's Clemson's second ever all-time win in Chapel Hill.
In Chapel Hill, yeah. Like this is a road win in Chapel Hill. I mean, that's a huge, huge win for them.
Big win.
Likely will get them in the tournament if they can finish the season halfway strong. And then Oklahoma State went to Houston tonight, and Houston wins 79-63. That was a final. And then in progress, these are top 25 games, guys. There is 6 seconds to go. Iowa State is up 3 on Texas, 68-65.
You mean Texas Tech?
Dayton is leading St. Joseph's. Dayton is leading St. Joseph's. Do what?
You mean Texas Tech? It's Iowa State and Texas Tech.
No, it's Iowa State and Texas.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
I thought it was
right now.
I thought it was Texas Tech.
Texas Tech is playing Baylor.
That's right. Texas Tech, I think they played Iowa State this past weekend, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember. No, that was Baylor.
Iowa State is up 3 on Texas.
I get all the Big 12 teams screwed up.
Dayton's leading St. Joseph 78-64. BYU is down 8 late in the second half.
If you've never watched Dayton, you need to watch Deron Holmes The dude can absolutely play basketball. He's a really good player.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
Butler
Dayton,
is down 8 to UConn in the second
I was going to say Dayton
half. Fort
is
Vandy.
kind of
Kentucky's beating Vandy 72 to 54. New Mexico is beating Wyoming 66 to 45. That's a tough place to play too. Wyoming is.
Laramie, yeah.
Texas Tech and Baylor. It's Baylor 36-35 at halftime. Also at half, Nevada is beating Utah State at Utah State 36 to 27. Those are halftime scores. That's what's going on in the top 25 right now.
I'll say this about that. I was going to finish up about Dayton. They're making up for that COVID year by the play that they're having, which the COVID year, the NCAA tournament was canceled for everybody that wants to know. And Dayton had one of the best teams in the country that year. I think they got didn't they get all the way up to number 2 or number something with Obi Toppin? Yeah. Toppin was a really good player that year for them, which he's in the NBA now. So that Dayton squad's a really good, fun team to watch.
All right, so Kentucky and Vandy is going on right now at 75-56. I want to say this. Man, Robert Dillingham is one of the most fun players to watch I have ever seen.
He's absolutely special. And it's not so much what he does, it's how he does it. Like when he gets on a heater, he just turns up. Like it's just like he has no.
He scored 13 points before a cat could lick its hind end.
Yeah, I mean, it's well, and you look at the Vanderbilt game, it ain't just been that game. It was the Kansas game. It was the Tennessee game. I mean, he's done it all year long, except I think there was one game where he didn't really play good, and he's a really bad
one or two off games. But boy, I tell you what, he is fun to watch, and he has all the confidence.
I'll just tell you, man, this Kentucky offense, if they ever get their defense straightened out, which it's been better tonight, I ain't going to lie. They've held them to 59 points into 10 minutes. It's been better.
But it's Vandy. Vandy's really not that great of a team.
If they can get their defense lined out and straightened out, this Kentucky team is –
this Kentucky team is going to be tested when we go – Auburn's got a great offense. Alabama's got a great offense. Tennessee, we saw Saturday. We play them again. They have a great offense.
But to be fair, the Alabama game's at home, so it's an opportunity to win at home. So
was Tennessee. But their offense is really, really good. Alabama's offense is one of the most efficient offenses in the country.
I agree.
So even though we have a good offense, Kentucky has a good offense, it's not going to matter if you run up against Buzzsaw on offense and we can't play any defense.
That's true.
So you're right. I mean, what you were saying is right. We definitely have to get better.
Because
this
offense is absolutely elite. Like, they can score at will.
We've given up 62 points tonight to Vandy, and there's almost 10 minutes to go, 9.5 minutes to go.
Well, it's better than average. It's got to get better, though. I mean, it eventually – they're not going to be the greatest defensive team, but they're just going to have to – get stops when they need to get stops is what I'm trying to say. And I feel like they've done that tonight. They took care of business tonight. Because usually in a game like this, when you're reeling after 2 losses like that, it kind of clouds your judgment and clouds your head. And it could turn into another game where you don't really play.
They started out hot. Reeves and Dillingham.
That's what I mean.
They hit 10 of their first 12 3-point shots.
That's what I'm saying. They started out quick and they just put the game away, which that's what you got to do to teams like this.
I mean, you can't get much more efficient than that from 3-point land.
which Saturday they need to pick up a quad one win. Gonzaga's a quad one win. They need to win at home Saturday. It's a big game for them. That's a bigger game than it really needs to be honest.
It
because,
is.
Gonzaga needs wins to get to the tournament.
It is. I mean,
if they don't,
big game.
If Gonzaga don't win,
do.
they're not getting in. If Gonzaga don't win some games, they're not getting in. And but
yeah,
overall, we had a great show.
I'm going to go ahead and wrap.
That's fine.
We'll do a short show here tonight, and we'll get off here and watch the very end of the show, the game tonight. But I appreciate you joining me, and we will kind of wrap this up. We will do our show, I guess, on Friday night.
We're doing
I
it.
think
Well,
we're going to have a bracketologist, right?
Yep, we have a guest Friday night. NKY Brackets from Northern Kentucky. And I got another one next week. I think T3.
He was on our show last year. He was on.
Yeah.
NKY was on our show last year as well one time. I think it was in February or something last year as well. He was on our show one time. And it'll be glad to have him back. He does great work.
And T3 and T3 will be on as well pretty soon. I'm going to shout out T3.
T3 has not been. I had NKY on, and I had JBR bracketology on last year.
T3 actually got to do a fireside chat with Joe Lenardi. How cool is that?
Yeah.
How cool is that? Like, how cool you get to sit in there, you sit on a space and get to talk to Joe Lenardi. It don't happen very often.
Yeah.
But
that's pretty cool. Hey, Real Fresh Channel, what's up? Y'all check out the Real Fresh channel. I'm on there on Sundays. There's lots of cool stuff there.
Go hang out with him.
Howie Fresh.
Howie Fresh. He's the
fresh. He's a Canadian. He's been snowed in for the last 5 or 6 days. They had 58 inches of snow. 58.
Hey, could you imagine being
5 feet of snow?
Could you imagine us being roommates and being snowed in for 58 days?
5 feet of snow, man. He said the
I could just see
15, 20 feet tall.
You would have done had me killed by now. Well, you'd have done had me killed. But it was a fun show
look
tonight.
At it. Right here. He's laughing. He says, I shoveled for 3 straight days.
Oh, I bet that was fun.
Yeah. Y'all go check out his channel. Like I said, we are on there. College SportsCast is featured on his channel on Sunday nights, our weekend wrap-up show. And he has lots of other stuff. He has some comedy stuff. He has an NFL show. They do stuff with Major League Baseball, with hockey. He's a Canadian, so they like hockey up there. So, they do hockey stuff. So check them out. And then they have a couple of fun shows that are like comedies. They do clips and have a little fun with clips and stuff on a show. It's actually called, and we get this right, Tokes and Takes.
Tokes and Takes,
I think is what it's called. I think that's what it's called. If he's on, he'll put it on here, but I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. If I remember right. Oh, I got it backwards.
Talks and Tokes.
Talk and Tokes. Okay, there it is. I was close. Oh yeah, and Fresh Takes is as like NFL and the NBA, or not the NLB and the hockey show stuff that I was talking about. And he's got a wrestling show as well, so you might like that.
Yeah, I love wrestling.
Channel. Yeah, man. He's one of my podcast guys. He's a really great dude. He's with the Fanboys as well. So
Justin Edwards is having a coming out party tonight.
Well, it's Vandy.
Yeah, well, I'm happy for the kid. I'm happy for the kid. He's had a struggle.
All right, guys. We will see you on Friday night for our game day pick'em show. Y'all have a good